Welcome to another Founder Wisdom Pod. We have Vic Dorfman with us today. He's CEO, founder at MemberFix and MemberHost. I've probably used these guys before, even Presslytics that I've seen here when I was a WordPress guy, right? Because nowadays I use Lovable and all these vibe coding tools for my landing pages, which we are going to discuss today. But Vic is a WordPress membership site tech expert. He helps $1 million plus WordPress based membership companies and e learning businesses solve technical challenge via custom development services and leading edge hosting. In Sheridan, Wyoming, I'm in Oaxaca, Mexico, and bookridegpt.com is presenting this podcast. If you want to write a book off your LinkedIn posts, you can go to bookridegpt.com. We allow you to do that in 5 minutes, and the first credit is on me. Vic, welcome to the pod. Tell me a bit more about yourself and what you're up to nowadays.
Thanks for having me, Charles. As you said, I'm the founder of MemberFix. I'm the co-founder of MemberHost. And what I'm up to these days, well, we're growing our hosting business. We're doing some acquisitions. And I'm basically focused these days on the visionary role of the company. We have a really wonderful team. I'm able to focus on sort of the bigger levers, bigger picture. And you mentioned AI. We're going huge into AI and automation, of course. That's about it.
Right. And do you think that it's smarter and better to vibe code your website nowadays rather than using WordPress? Because I had my website agency once, and we use DV template in WordPress, which made it incredibly easy to edit out websites and to get going on that level. With Lovable nowadays, I can just prompt an AI, hey, modify this, modify that. Every day I'm modifying my website. Do you think that's the way to go as a busy founder?
Could be. I'm a huge fan of Lovable, and it's a monster. I don't know if you've seen their numbers, but they're absolutely it's a unicorn.
Incredible growth.
But I think it really depends on what you're doing. For example, we work primarily with membership sites, e-learning sites, things of that nature. That would be a very hard thing to vibe code the back-end functionality. You probably wouldn't want to try. It starts hallucinating pretty quickly for back-end stuff. It's great for front-end stuff, and that will all change very soon. Of course, we know that's gonna, like in a few years, who knows what's gonna happen. But I think at this point, it's not really that WordPress is replaceable. They're just two different sets of tools.
Interesting. What about using Cursor to get deeper and to actually code functioning stuff? Like, I guess your level of technicality steps up. You may need to know a bit about GitHub and these tools. Do you feel that would be enough for someone, let's call it 7 on 10 technical, to actually code a membership function that scales?
Not really. I would say, of course, you could do it. You could beat your head against the wall for a very long time and get something. But if you're not actually a developer, and if you don't understand development best practices, if you don't understand authentication, security things, I mean, I'm sure you've seen on X people exposing their API, getting massive bills from their LLM or getting hacked or whatever. And of course, because they don't know what they're doing. And there's nothing wrong with that. I've vibe coded it a lot, and it was just for fun. But then at the end of the day, I'm like, okay, I need to get back to doing like what actually works in my business and making sales and this kind of thing. So I would say no, not yet.
And how did you get there? Like, have you always been a founder, an entrepreneur, and why choose that specific niche?
Well, I have not always been an entrepreneur. No, not necessarily. But I had a tech job. You could say it was my first job in tech. It was an e-commerce company, and I was actually doing copywriting there. And I'm just not a very good employee. I'm very not agreeable, which doesn't mean that I can't be tactful and get along with people. But if I think something is ridiculous or illogical or whatever, I kind of can't just look the other way, And so a lot of being a founder to me is just doing things the way that I want to do them on my own terms. And I would say that as far as membership sites as a niche, I always say it's not actually really even a niche. It's a positioning, because a niche would be hospitality or pregnant women over 40 who want to get fit. That's a niche. Membership site, a membership site is a delivery vehicle for your value, right? So, and that's actually one of the difficulties in my business, is that we aren't in a niche. So every project is awesome. It's hard to productize. It's hard to build a solution that then you can resell to a lot of people. That's been one of our difficulties as an agency on the hosting side, that we're trying to solve that problem, because that scales a lot better. But I've pretty much fell into that, because what happened was, in the very short version, Charles, is I came to Thailand about 15 years ago. That's where I've been living ever since. And I didn't have any money. I just had my old laptop, which broke promptly after my arrival, of course. I had a bunch of debt. I had like over 20 grand in debt. And I was living in a hostel, just trying to figure out what to do, going every morning downstairs, hopping on the Wi-Fi, going on the Warrior Forum. I don't know if you remember the Warrior Forum, but
Yes, of course.
the OG marketing forum. And basically what happened is I was just like asking anybody who would give me some kind of work, can I write an article for you? Can I do something for you? And eventually what I wound up focusing on for a little while was SEO. And I made a course, a membership site called Smart Keyword Research, which did reasonably well. And I think what happened, I actually don't really remember, but I think one of my members said, Vic, I like your membership site. You think you could do one just like this for me? And at the time I said, yes, absolutely. And I did that. And then I think he referred somebody else. And it just kind of dawned on me, wait, there's nobody who does membership sites as a positioning where they're the membership site expert. So I just started calling myself the membership site. I pretty much figured it as I went along.
Interesting. Yeah, I can relate to that story. I was a nomad myself. You're probably like in Chiang Mai or Bangkok or someplace like that. And yeah, I think mine, yeah, I had an agency early on. I think it was like Facebook ads that I really start scaling. So again, no clear vertical, although I did have a very good niche with realtors, but realtors as clients weren't that great. So I started targeting my ICP way better. And nowadays I'm pretty obsessed with who I work with, because if they can first pay me, then I like their company, I like their vibes, right? I can even partner with them, go full commission, and have equity in their companies, which is part of my funnel. Now, talking about that chemistry, I pretty similar personality to yours. I'm quite rational, very logical, and I will call out empathetically on people if they're on the bullshit side of things. I sort of had to learn EQ and empathy the hard way. Did you fully scale that side of you, the EQ side? And if so, how did you do that? Because a bunch of people, I think, as soon as you start sort of not calling them out, but maybe debating their point, right, they get offended. I had one of these on my podcast last week, in which I was just challenging his assumption, and I felt the cortisol spike into that guy. Like people that are not used to having debates and that think debating is bad, while they're actually the best way to gain IQ and EQ points. So how did you crack that part?
Well, just to be clear, when I said that being an entrepreneur is about doing things your way and that I was a poor employee, I don't equate that with direct confrontation, because I think you can still be quite disagreeable and get your point across being indirect. And the hard thing for me actually was learning to be indirect, because when I was younger, I would just say whatever came to mind, and that ultimately worked against me most of the time. People don't appreciate that. Very few people appreciate that. And even the people who like the direct talk, they'll rightly perceive you as lacking finesse and tact. So I think and this is something I actually learned from one of our customers. One of our great customers is Echelon Front, which, if you've heard of Jocko Willink,
Yep.
his leadership training company is called Echelon Front. We've been working with them for many years, and they're wonderful. And I'm a huge fan of Jocko, even before we worked with his company. And his whole thing is being indirect, which it's kind of, he seems like a very direct, sort of in your face kind of guy, but really what that means is that you use jujitsu, right, to get your points across, and you sometimes you need to be direct, and sometimes that's the appropriate tool, right? But I would say that scaling EQ component of personality, yes, it's being empathic, it's reading body language, it's reading rooms and situations, and it's also knowing how to say things to get a point across without triggering somebody's fight or flight, right? Spiking that cortisol. And I'm not saying I'm perfect at that, but that's definitely something I've improved over the years.
Yeah, because even Jocko is like great leader, right? The squadron leader, the Navy SEAL, love the guy as well, and all of his books. But you've probably listened to some of his podcasts, right? You went on podcasts, and I think there was like friction with the guests, right? And you could sort of feel that. I think it's also very hard as a military guy to come back in a civilian world, someone that is living in the privileged and safe environment, especially someone that challenges the military, which I think some podcasters did, and they have the right to do that. Like military is not perfect, but I think it's really hard to, yeah, get your assumptions challenged. I think a lot of people have a sense of identity into these things, and they hold on onto these things for dear life. You know, like if, for example, if you start talking shit against founders, entrepreneurs, I do consider myself a founder and entrepreneur, and it's pretty impossible to get me to a degree of flexibility on that level. I also think that founders are the future with AI coming. I can only see most people getting into freelancing and having their own companies if they want to survive AI. Do you agree with that assumption?
Yes, on a long timeline, but it's a question of when. For example, I'm in a few of these AI and automation groups, and I'm actually, just to kind of know what I don't know, I'm doing some freelancing on setting up N8N automation, setting up these AI workflows, so that I can effectively delegate them. Essentially, I'm not, obviously that's a poor use of my time, but I need to understand it at a level where I'm not just totally clueless. And I'm in one of these groups, and one of the guys was saying basically that he cold calls. He built his business to something like 25K a day. No, it was a Reddit post. Sorry, it was a Reddit post. And he built his, no, excuse me, 25. And he says he just cold calls businesses, just, bricks and mortar businesses in the US, plumbers, etc. And he's the first person that any of them ever spoke with who's pitching them AI services. So it'll come eventually, but there's still plenty of opportunity. It's a long time before, we live in a bubble, right? Sometimes as entrepreneurs, we're on the bleeding edge of things. And so we kind of extrapolate, think, oh, well, the whole world is into Bitcoin. The whole world, maybe now it is. The whole world is into AI, but it's still pretty early days, I would say, for a lot of that stuff, for the average person.
And I agree with that. That guy cold calling plumbers, I do believe in the cold calling medium with those people. I would just AI the crap out of that funnel. By the way, have AI voices calling instead of a human. He must be pretty goddamn good at cold calling. I used to have a call center with 200 employees, but I don't think he should be. And I'm not sure if he does that, but I don't even think he should be talking about AI. I just think he should be dropping it as a side note. Okay, he doesn't. Yeah, that's good.
No, he just says, you have a problem, here's a solution I can sell to you, here's the cost, here's the...
Yeah, and these niches, like these plumbers, they're highly paid. They're like $500 an hour, if not 1,000 in some cities, and no one is really approaching them. So it's a pretty cool niche. How do you do your GTM? Do you do ads, SEO? Do you do cold email on your side?
Most of our business is inbound, which is, it's a great dynamic, right? Inbound business is kind of the best business because they're coming to you, but it's not a scale. Working on cold email, I'm working on content, producing a lot of content. I'm exploring some other channels, but yeah, the most traction we have is definitely from inbound, from our partnerships.
And where would AI step in on the membership side of things? Let's say once I sign up to be a member of Jocko's program, for example, would there be a chatbot that would be personalized to me off the email that I fed and the details that I entered initially? Like what's on the other side that is AI that could provide me value as a customer?
Yeah, there could definitely definitely be something like that. There could be a support bot, and some of them, I had an experience, I think it was with Loom, and it was with Calendly, and I needed to find a setting to change my time zone. I just couldn't find it, and I'm just like, what the hell? And so I asked the chatbot, and it told me exactly where it is. It knew exactly what I wanted, and I said, and this was kind of a moment for me where I said, man, this is better than a human could do it, faster than a human can do it. And so what that refers to, that chatbot, it's called a RAG. It's a retrieval augmented generation, where essentially you just feed a bunch of content. It could be text, audio, video. It all gets parsed, stored in a database. And then when somebody asks a question, or when you make a query, it will reference. Well, first it will decide what to reference, and then it'll reference that content to give a more relevant answer. And I'm actually looking actively into building bots for customers, and they could do things like answer queries, upsell. They could take a sales function. If somebody asks a question, the chatbot can say, well, hey, you know what would be really good? This program. That would really help you with that. And of course, there's nuance in how you do that as well. So that's one of many
use cases.
One of many use cases you could do.
Yeah, Vic, I want to pivot on a personal side of things. Like, we both are fans of Jocko. What does a day-to-day in your life look like? Do you practice BJJ? Do you, what are habits that you nurture to be a better father, better entrepreneur, better human being?
Yeah, for sure. I do jujitsu all the time. I lift weights. I do adventures in the jungle with my friends. We climb up waterfalls in wetsuits. Check out my Instagram. It's the funnest thing in the whole world. You can't believe how much fun this thing is. We'll be 12 hours in the jungle. Go on the adventures highlights and go to some of the most recent ones.
Yeah, I'll just show my screen.
Yeah, I don't have a family. Oh yeah, go for it.
You don't have a family, you're saying?
No, I have a family. I have a wife. I have a son.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Let's see here.
If you go to the adventures.
Holy fuck.
Wait. So go click out of that and click on adventures up top. One of the little circles there.
The reels adventures.
Yeah. And go click through to. It goes from least recent to most recent. So go click forward 20 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yeah,
something like that. A few more. Yeah. So this is it right here. So we're just literally starting at the bottom of a mountain stream with all these falls. It's basically like a big waterfall stream, and we're in the jungle, just 10 hours climbing up the falls. It's kind of like a rock climbing scenario, but there's a swimming component. There's some really huge falls. It's wonderful. It's my favorite thing.
Looks pretty hard. You had parasites in your fucking hand. So are you strapped to something also, or just free climbing?
No, we're doing free solo. Sometimes we bust out a rope if we need to get around something that's just a little bit too gnarly. But that's our whole thing here is free solo.
Problem solving. Oh man.
Yeah.
Where's that, by the way, Vic? Is it Thailand?
This is in Chiang Mai. Yeah, Chiang Mai, northern Thailand.
Oh man. And what is fun about that? I don't know. I don't want fucking parasites in my hand. I love pain, but I hate parasites.
It's really hard to explain to somebody who hasn't done it before, and people don't understand why we're so obsessed with it, why it's so much fun to us. It just looks like you're crawling up a little waterfall, but there is a huge element of problem solving to try to figure out. It's dangerous. There's danger. There's teamwork. You overcome adversity together, and as friends and as a team. What's interesting too is some problems will be very hard for you, but very easy for your friend, and vice versa. So you get to see how your body solves problems. You see beautiful nature. I mean, these are parts of nobody ever sees. So it's hard to explain. You just have to come and do it, Charles. So I invite.
No, I'll come for sure. I love adventures, right? I'm just being a little bitch talking about parasites. I don't know. I have a fixation with parasites. I hate mosquitoes as well. because every time they bite me, like my brain slows down, sort of. I actually had a guy on my podcast that, yeah, it's an Israel company and they neutralize mosquitoes. There's like a laser pointer to mosquitoes. I'm about to buy one of these, but no, I'll surely come if you invite me. Do you do some Muay Thai as well in Thailand?
I
In
do some.
Thailand, yeah.
But yeah, I just do some regular Western boxing a few times per week, but I've never really gotten into Muay Thai. I don't like the idea of doing all that cardio and all that kicking and getting kicked, and my hips aren't like super flexible. I prefer to just stick with my
But
old
dude,
man.
BJJ is like insane cardio.
Yeah, but not like Muay Thai.
Depends, like, but you have the air choke out of you, right? Less oxygen going throughout the body. That's a bit freaky.
Well, I've been doing it for a really long time, so I'm a lot more efficient than when I started. So it's not quite. I can do like lazy old man jujitsu, and sort of get away with it most of the time.
Right. And Chiang Mai, like, why Chiang Mai specifically? You've done like other places in the world? Why have you chose that as your home?
Yeah, I've lived in Bangkok. I've lived in Phuket. I'm from the U.S. I live there, obviously. I'm in Brazil now, and all over Southeast Asia. I've been in Europe. Chiang Mai is my favorite place in the whole world, and some people would disagree. Some people are kind of burned out on it, or they think it's overrated. But to me, it's just Thailand. First of all, has nurtured me when I had nothing. I feel like it's my mother. Like it fed me from its breast. I really feel this way. I have a great love for Thailand and Thai people, and huge respect for Thai culture. It's a very beautiful country, very safe. The people are wonderful. It's I don't want to say clean, but the nature is very clean, and I just feel very comfortable there. It's just my favorite place. A lot of it is feel, I suppose. Like we're in
Yeah, I know
Brazil,
the feeling.
but I
Yeah,
really
what did
don't
you
want to
say?
stay here much longer.
Yeah, I'm about to hit Brazil. Do you do like these ultra running event stuff? I have an ultra parati in like 6 months from now, 110K.
No, no, no.
Pain as a
Oh wow.
service.
Here you go.
Yeah, yeah, it's okay.
Are you gonna monetize that somehow?
Of course. Like life is money. No, I have like a couple of CEOs and founders joining me. If that can be called monetized, right? But just like this podcast, is there money behind it? Sure, but do I care about it? Is that the main goal? No. Um, I think I love like doing these with other CEOs and founder friends because it's like networking on steroids, and I hate the word networking, but it's just like you get to know someone in their deepest states, like when they're deep in the pain cave and how their brain functions, and problem solving. There's a shitload of that during these runs. Last run, I was like taking care of two humans. By the end of the run, one was about to have a heart attack in the middle of the jungle, and there was no lights, there was no nothing, right? So, and the next station was very far, it was like 15 kilometers away, and we were like out of water, out of everything. So, out of a cell phone, out of everything. So, yeah, there's always that component, and I love doing it with CEOs. I can really get to know them and yeah, see what they're made out of. If we can even start a business together, which is ultimately a very long adventure.
Indeed.
And the nurturing part that you mentioned, like in Thailand, I can relate to that a lot here in Oaxaca too, because it's the first city I hit in my nomadic journey. That's where I met my wife, and that's where we spent the most time. And yet, sometimes it doesn't matter like the city itself. And like you said, Oaxaca and Mexico isn't like the cleanest, but nature's pretty much clean throughout the world, right? By definition, because no one is stepping there. But yet, it's important to find a home. And I would you agree that most people's home is not where they were born, or is that like most people where they feel comfortable?
I think it's the latter. I mean, most of the people I went to high school with are still in my hometown in Florida, and I just can't understand how anybody would want to live there. Like, just thinking about going there gives me anxiety.
Because they're not entrepreneurial, they're not like getting out of their comfort zone type of people, or
Some of them are. But I think, it's actually, people always think the grass is greener. They see you living the life in Mexico, right? Oh, Oaxaca, that's amazing. You're learning Spanish, etc. But there's the other side of that, which is that like you have to build everything from scratch in a different culture, in a different language. Um, you lose all your connections, all the compound interest that you've gained over the years of, for better and for worse, in wherever your home base was. And I think that's part of it too, is like why we don't want to start over in like Brazil or something, is because my wife and I, we're so used to Thailand. We're so comfortable there. It's so convenient for us, and we know how everything works. And that was a very long process to understand that.
Right. And also when you're building a business from a computer, it's a different type of life, a different nomadic life. Most of your time is spent behind a computer. Do you still work that much, or do you also spend a lot of time outside of it with your kids and the family?
I work quite a bit, but I have a good work-life balance. I do spend time with friends and family, but you're right. Like you can't be worrying about your logistics of like where to go grocery shopping or to get XYZ, because you need all your time focused, your focus to be on your work. And so you need those things kind of outsourced and taken care of reasonably well.
Right.
At least that's my
Well,
opinion about it.
Vic, thanks for coming on. Where can people find out more about you and your company?
You can go to memberfix.rocks or memberhost.io, or you can come check out my Instagram, which is Vic_Dorfman, and check out some of the waterfall adventures we've been talking about.